A strike action is when a group of workers stop work to protest the favorable or unfavorable working conditions and welfare of the group. Today on the program, we're talking about the strike actions in Nigeria across the Nigerian Labour Congress, ASUP, ASUP, ASUU, petroleum workers, oil marketers, and many more. Joining me today is the head of International Relations, Nigeria Labour Congress, and the liaison officer to the National Assembly, Mr. Uchenna Ekwe. Thank you so much for joining us in today's program.
Thank you.
To his left, we have Daniel Enenche, who is a PhD candidate of the Food Chemistry Center for Food Technology and Research, Benue State University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How effective are strikes, in your opinion, Daniel?
Well, judging by the number of strikes we've had in Nigeria over the past decade, sometimes they are effective because if you look at NLC, for instance, only when there are strikes do government try to listen to what they have to say. But when you break it down to the other bodies of ASU, other bodies of NLC, let's say ASU, ASUP, the length of time that it takes before the government eventually meets these demands means that we need to look at a different or a new approach to settling disputes within the system. So sometimes it works, but I think except only when NLC comes in, that's when it's more effective, but for other unions, it's difficult.
Mr. Ekwe, as a leader, one of the leaders of the NLC and a member, you've experienced many strikes, or you've led many strikes. A lot of people have attributed the strikes to be politically motivated. They claim that the Nigerian Labour Congress is not truly motivated by the living and the working conditions of its members. However, it's motivated by their political godfathers, political mentors, and political influencers. What's your response to this?
Well, this is an interesting one and very difficult one to answer because first, political godfathers, mentors, and what keep running in my mind, who are they and for what? For example, because many people don't know, they just see strike. Usually before you hear of a strike, in some cases, take ASU for example, because he said finding new ways. And I wonder, what are the new ways? You make a demand, you make a proposal to government. By the rules, you go into negotiations and engagement. In some cases, after months, or even at times years of negotiation, which the public didn't know, because this time it's not at the purview of the public. And after those processes, you sign an agreement. Now, probably, in the agreement will have some details of things to be done, which might include implementation of these agreements starts, say, in January. And then, by March, you have not started implementing the agreement. The organization writes the agency or government to say, we reached an agreement in December, which effective implementation date is January. We sent you a reminder by February. This is March, we are sending you another reminder. In some cases, those letters will not be acknowledged. Then you keep doing this, and in some cases it gets to June. Now, this body is forced to take their last resort of putting pressure. That is even when the public, because even some of these will even be released to the press. But you see, people will not even read it. Even having a live program, even like this, people will not listen to it. Even the people and the government will become, until, in many cases, you issue a strike notice, no response. Maybe you have given a 21 days ultimatum, re-notified 14 days. Just a day to the commencement of the strike, everybody realizes, oh, strike will cause a problem. And somebody gets up and says it's politically motivated. For what?
But has it changed anything? Has the strike changed anything? Also, for instance, we've seen the detrimental effects it has on students like Daniel. Students who go to school to study for 4 years end up spending 6 to 8 years in university studying the same subject due to consistent strikes. So isn't it counterproductive, these strikes?
Okay, I'll give you a very interesting example. What I found is that the people in authority and governance here, and at least I'm happy now, we are beginning to realize that the argument of politically motivated doesn't even arise in the first place. Have we settled that part? Because they are issues based. But you see, what part of what people in governance or management enjoy in this country is that they've known that our resilience level is low. We don't want to have an engagement. But let me remind you that it took several years of demand that working hours will become 8 hours, not 16, not 20 hours in some cases, globally. And several years of demand, no response. But the people keep making this demand. This demand keep going on for about 30 years until in 1886, the leaders of those demands, particularly the Chicago group, because it was going on across the world, now have to force a strike. They were tried, and 12 of the leaders were killed by hanging in a market square to deter others from going on. That's the history of the May Day you have today.
Okay, now.
To deter others from going on. It took another 3 years to achieve that in 1889.
Okay, according to the International Labour Organization, the ILO, which Nigeria is a signatory to that, treaty. If you go on the website, I think they are now bringing up modern ways of dispute resolution, of how labor can engage government to, look into their issues apart from strike. I mean, is Nigeria looking into exploring any of these ways that even the ILO is, bringing up that they can use to settle issues that wouldn't make strike the last resort?
There's no way, there's no ILO, it cannot happen that you remove strike. And remember, I'm happy you used it. The last option. All the things you say ILO is bringing has always been there. I give you an example now. You start processes of negotiation. Let's take, for example, the new minimum wage that is on the table now. And I take it back to talking about political godfathers pushing people. In 2011, in signing the minimum wage agreement, it was agreed that it will be reviewed every 5 years. And what was the reasoning? During the debate, everybody agreed that the long process, long time in doing the minimum wage, which at times come to 8-10 years, creates too long a time. And that will force a quantum leap, because inflations and other erosions on the economy must have impacted so deep in the formal wages. To shorten that, having that leap, it was agreed that there will be a 5-year period. What unfortunately didn't happen, because it was agreed that it will be made a law. But unfortunately, when the act, minimum wage law, was being passed, it was done in a hurry that it didn't take that part. But that agreement was there, the Justice Begero Committee. It was there in writing. Now, when the 5 years was approaching, we wrote a formal letter to government. I said, we are getting to 5 years because we know the process. Like you said, you don't go and say strike. You start a process, a committee have to be set up, tripartite committee. These are all the things we're talking about, the ILO. That tripartite body will meet, look at all the indices, including ability to pay, which people are raising now. These are all the criteria. The minimum wage process is known, and everybody knows what to do.
But still, you've yet
so
to...
So that process started 2 years ago.
But so the focus today is the strike actions, the actions of the Nigerian Labour Congress. Is it truly representative of the people that you claim to be standing for? Daniel, I want to bring you in here. I'm sure you've worked several jobs as well. You're a student, but I'm sure you also have living a job that's sustaining you. Do you believe the Nigerian Labour Congress is representative of your demand as a worker, given the fact that they very recently threatened to go on strike, and they had told everyone, sent out circulars to the aviation industry, all workers to stay at home. You know, they even threatened, I believe some of them went to the airport and actually stopped some flights. But at the end of the day, during the day of the strike, they said it was called off. No resolution had been made about the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Up till now. And many people believe that maybe they've gone behind closed doors to make a secret agreement with the politicians. Do you, as a private individual, a student, and a worker, do you believe the Nigerian Labour Congress is representative of your demands as a worker?
It would be unfair to say that what NLC is striving for is not justifiable, because every worker needs, when you're going home, you need your take-home pay to help you to reach what you want to do. 30,000 naira, the 30,000 we're talking about is not even enough to meet so many demands for people. Even just imagine you have a wife, a wife and a child. 30,000 is not even enough for just one person. So if you look at it well, NLC is the interest is generally for the people, but sometimes you have to look at how it damages the economy when we go on strike. Because when you go on strikes, so many things will be down. You'll be losing money in the stock exchange and so many places. So it just also the negotiation between government and NLC has to go to a different dimension, and everyone has to understand. The government has to understand that the workers need better welfare, and NLC also has to understand that funds are dwindling. And we have to come to a compromise where both is a win-win situation for everybody.
Okay, now to you now, Uchenna Ekwe, just a quick one. Taking it from where Osaso was saying, the genuineness of the strike actions. Don't forget that there was a time that the labor union called for strike, and Nigerians didn't take them serious. And this concurrent calling for strike, and there's no maximum support from the people that you are striking for. I mean, isn't Labour worried about the fact that Nigerians may not be taking them serious anymore with these strike actions, seeing this perception of strikes being politically motivated?
Well, it's so interesting, and I get worried about the level of intellectual laziness that's going on in the country. I'm really, really worried. Even on this table is playing out. There's a whole lot of contradiction in the questions people are asking. First, in one hand, everybody's saying strike is too much. In the other hand, people are saying you don't go on strike. In the other hand, they say the strike is political motivated.
Sorry, let me correct you. We're not saying you didn't go on strike. We're saying that you called for a strike until the last minute without explaining to Nigerians why you did that. Did you go behind closed doors and make a secret deal with politicians that are not beneficial to Nigerians? That's what's on the table here. No atom of intellectual laziness, I can guarantee you that.
No, I'll tell you what is on the table.
Okay.
But the NLC did not brief Nigerians why they called off that strike, and now the talk is still on.
I was in this studio, in this same very studio, about 4 times to say that this strike is meant to force the government to sign the government part, to sign the negotiated paper.
And was that achieved?
That was achieved. And that was why it was sent to go to the president. And remember you said here that there is the ILO have rules for each of the engagement. And the engagement for minimum wage says the tripartite body meets, consider all the things you need to consider, reach an agreement. The first strike was never intended to be in the first place. What happened? And I was also, and so many of my colleagues was in the studio. And that's what shocks me, that people don't listen to those debates. To say that the government boycotted concluding the meeting, because you need to conclude the meeting to even know what you're taking to the president. That we're going on strike to force government to call back the meeting. Before the strike, they call back the meeting. So why will you go on strike? When you have achieved what you set out to achieve? When the meeting
but if that was achieved, why were governors still in a meeting with the president?
That's why I say, I want you to listen to the process. And I want you to hear the process properly now. So it will not, because it's written. So that tomorrow it will not be mistaken again. When that process, the meeting was then called back. And an agreement was reached. That agreement was now the issue of debate. The Minister of Labour representing government said, no, we didn't agree. And we said, look, in tripartism, you have 3 votes because you have 3 bodies being represented on this table. The Employers Association, Labour, and Government. Employers Association and Labour have voted 2-1 that 30,000 is what we have agreed. It is now compelling on the other party to now sign the dotted papers. After that, you will now send it to president by the rule, who now, when he accepts it, will now have the duty. Remember, the document you are going to send to the president includes all that is agreed, then a bill, a draft bill that will be sent to National Assembly. The president does not approve the minimum wage. It's a law. So what he has to do is to transfer this bill to the National Assembly for passage into law. It was at this point that the government team pulled out from signing because the other 2 parties. Now, a strike was called to force the government team to sign that document so that it will be sent to government. Before the day of the notice, they signed that document and it was transferred to the president. So will you go on strike when you have achieved the purpose of calling the strike? That's why I say, and this team, as I said, we have been in studios, we have addressed press conferences explaining these simple matters. And people want us to go on strike. The same people will say, why are you going on strike? That you are damaging the economy.
I think you're missing the point, sir. Yes. So we're not saying go on strike. We're saying that you need to communicate better with the Nigerian people. Hold on, one second. You say exactly. Come on set like this and answer questions. Listen.
I was in politics.
Yes.
I was in democratic license. I was on focus.
Which one is democratic license? I understand that. What I'm saying is that the day before the strike.
My president addressed press conference. Immediately after he was called off, we did a full press briefing, and in writing, newspapers carried it. So how else?
So the day before the strike, as I was saying, there was the trajectory which you just explained, obviously, is very confusing to many Nigerians. When you say that the strike action was called for the government to sign the document, then it was signed...
And submit.
Exactly. And it was signed and sent to the president.
Yes.
Our own thinking is that the president is the government.
Exactly.
So before, are you...
And our thinking is that issues of minimum wage is settled.
Exactly.
But it seems like it's not settled.
If we're still, exactly, sir, if we're still asking you these questions, if we're still unsure of what you're doing, then it's your duty and obligation to explain it to us. But I thank you so much for coming on today's program. I thank you so much as well, Daniel. Unfortunately, we have to go now. We have another segment of the political weekend show coming up. We're going to be horning into the vice presidential debate that happened yesterday. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back on the weekend show.